Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities. I'll give you my financial opinion. I'll walk through you the dollar, 10-year yield, and all the other different precious metals and commodities that I follow. And I'll interject my opinion along the way. So here we go. This is technical analysis. We're going to start with the DXY, a relative strength indicator is what I call this, the dollar. We are seeing that move higher, just as expected. Like I said, big up candlestick, small down candlestick usually results in an upward move. And will this move continue? I think it highly depends on tomorrow and the news that's released tomorrow by the FOMC. Are we going to get 75 basis points rate hike? I think that's the consensus. If we get a full 1%, I don't think the market's going to like that as much, but I think 0.75 is baked into the cake. And if we get 1%, you might see a little bit of a sell-off tomorrow. And in all honesty, I'm not really sure what they're going to do. If I were to guess, 0.75 would be my guess. But right now, dollar strength in terms of relative strength is occurring, and we're starting to break away from this support line. So we could see a further move to the upside for the dollar. It looks very high. It looks highly likely or statistically likely for that to happen. The 10-year yield is also moving higher, up 2.32%, up to 3.572 is the total yield. We are rocketing higher with this yield. You can see it on the monthly candlestick that we are taking off. And usually higher yields moving on up like this is a headwind for stocks and the NASDAQ. Sometimes, depending on how big they pull back, it can be a headwind in commodities for a short period of time, depending on how much they fall, and it can kind of, it'll couple everything up because of the leverage in the system. So right now, we're seeing higher yields. People are selling bonds. That's what it means. So bond prices are falling. This is the bond price of a 20-year Treasury bond ETF. It is falling down. It is getting absolutely massacred. And we are continuing to fall lower and lower over time. And this was up in August of 2020. That was at $172. And we are now down around $106. A massive decline in bonds here. Bonds, which are supposed to be safe. TYX also heading higher. This is the 30-year yield. People are selling 30-year bonds, and that is also going up. The TYX to TNX is at this long-term support, and I've just been tracking this recently, and we're right at this long-term support. Usually when this goes up, gold prices go up. And we're right at this long-term support, so it's a possibility here that we start to see a bounce at some point and gold prices bounce higher, or it may still be delayed some. If we see increased hawkishness out of the Fed, they're going to raise rates and continue to raise rates. That's going to hurt precious metals. If they loosen up, if they were to come out with like a 0.5 basis points hike, I think you'll see this skyrocket. So a lot of it deals with the expectations that are already baked into this cake here. The CRB index moving sideways today, 0.09%. It looks like we're trying to find a support level or a bottom right where we're at. And we're starting to contract down and come to some, we'll call it an equaling point where the buyers start to equal the sellers. Gold still heading a little bit lower. I think it's really depending on what happens tomorrow. Sometimes they push this lower before releasing news, expecting kind of a pop higher in it. But right now, a lot depends on what comes out tomorrow. Silver also coming down a little bit. Still doesn't look that bad. A little wick at the bottom. But again, if I was a trader, I wouldn't be doing anything. I probably wouldn't even be in the market. I don't like these news events. But it still looks good for silver. Platinum is by far the strongest of the group. Little wick at the top, but still an up day at $5 up. And then the XAU to go ratio, it still looks all right to me. There's no reversal candlestick or anything. We have a big kind of bullish candlestick with a small bloody nose, bloody chest next to it. That is a bullish signal usually, but we've got news coming out and expect a lot of volatility tomorrow. Expect volatility tomorrow. And we have not broken out of this long-term downtrend line, which I am waiting for. And hopefully we can get a big break out of this thing. I am buying down here into my mutual fund, my 401k for some of these mining companies. Big diversified fund, but that's kind of what I'm doing down there. SILJ, right on support. I still think it looks good down here. Again, heavily depends on what happens tomorrow. If it's perceived as hawkish, we'll see what happens. But if they're dovish, then I think that we could move on up in all of the precious metals and mining companies. GDX is still just moving sideways again. Doesn't look too bad. Nothing changed from yesterday. No reversal candlesticks. And now we're just waiting for news. Going to crude oil. Crude oil was selling off a little bit. I mean, this is a battle back and forth here. We've got, large selling pressure here. We have another kind of large candlestick there. It's starting to contract basically into some sort of pattern here. And the buyers are starting to equal the sellers. Are we going to break lower or higher? I think it highly depends on how much oil they release from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, what people think about interest rates and what they come out with. It's a combination of all these things. I think China's coming back online. Demand should be picking up. OPEC's cutting barrels. There's a lot of information basically hitting this cross-section of all these things. And this is the price at this moment. Natural gas, slightly lower. It's looking like it's trying to put in some footing here. Are we going to break down and come back to this level down here? I would actually love it if it does that. I would see, obviously, my account go down in the short term, but I would be buying down here. That's my take on it. And that's what I'd be looking for. XOP, you know me. Up day with a little bloody chest, bloody nose. Usually that's a move higher, but you know what? We've got news coming out tomorrow, and news can push this thing whichever way. So get ready for volatility. I'm holding on. I'm not really going to do anything with my shares, and I'm getting ready for that volatility. Mentally prepare yourself. OIH also very similar to XOP. I still like it down here very much so. I think that the energy service companies in a medium to long-term play are going to be excellent for a break higher. We really do need to break back above this guy and hold up there for a nice big move out of the energy service companies. I view the energy service companies very highly because the money has not rotated there, and I think it will have to rotate there at some point. I just don't know the exact path. But higher is my guess over this short midterm. Uranium future pricing up a little bit. There's that little up candlestick there. But we're up a little bit. We're starting to find some support. Hopefully we can get some momentum to the upside. The Sprott Physical Uranium Trust right on support. It is getting that support right on it right now, and we're right on top of that support line. Doesn't look bad, doesn't look good. We need the buyers to come in here and push it higher. I think it's waiting for information from tomorrow's meeting. Whatever happens, we could go ballistic tomorrow. And I'm just riding through it. I'm riding through it. Uranium also sitting on top of that support line. That's that support line going across here. We're right on top of it. And right now, we've got a bullish engulfing the day before. We gapped down and sitting right on top of that support. I still think it's favorable to go up, but huge but here. Highly depends on what is released tomorrow and how investors take that information. Because I've seen crazy things happen on these days where you see just massive buying pressure. And conversely, I've seen massive selling pressure also at these kind of FOMC meetings. CCJ is surprisingly holding up very well. I still like this bullish engulfing. I still think that it is good to go higher, but again, highly depends on the news that comes out tomorrow. And we've got a mixed bag in the sector. Some up, some down, and they're bouncing all around. Looking at TAN does not like that higher yield. And the higher yield, higher dollar mix, it's pushing it down in the short term. Medium term, though, if you look at a monthly candlestick, these are two small little guys here. I still think that looks great for a move higher in the medium to long term. Medium term being like measured in months, not in weeks. COPX selling off a little bit today. Here's the dailies. Again, it's that bloody chest type movement. There's no reversal candlestick. The day before is a reversal candlestick from this downward movement to an upward movement. So COPX still looks really good to me to move higher. But again, depends on the news tomorrow. That news is going to override any of these chart patterns. The CRB to S&P 500 was up today, 1.87%. It looks like we've got some sort of pattern that's developing here where it's slightly downward. That's usually a bullish formation to go higher. So this to me looks like we could go higher in the commodity to S&P 500 ratio, meaning commodities will outperform the S&P 500. Looking at rare earth metal ETF, that still looks good. We got a bloody nose. Bloody noses are usually a move higher. Bloody nose is a big tall candlestick with a small down day next to it. It's a small profit-taking day. Again, though, everything I'm saying here, if that news comes out tomorrow and people like it, we're going way higher. If they don't like it, they're going to sell this thing off like no other. So to me, it looks like the people are positioning for a move higher, but the news is going to have a large impact on which direction we go tomorrow. Another bloody nose on the Global X Lithium and Battery Tech ETF. I still think that looks really good for a move higher because we've broken out of this downtrend. We're positioning for a move on up and the buyers are in control. The S&P 500 selling off a little bit today. We do have a little bit of a wick at the bottom. So it's got a little bit of shaky legs. We'll see what tomorrow brings us. It doesn't necessarily look bad here. It looks all right. We've got a bullish engulfing yesterday, which is positive. And then we have a hammer candlestick. I think that wants to go higher based off of this lead-in. But the news is going to override this. So it's going to highly depend on whatever they release tomorrow. This also looks just fine. The U.S. Composite Index for a move higher. Again, though, the news will override whatever I'm telling you here. EEM, same thing as the S&P 500 and NASDAQ. It's right at support. Nice little sideways day. Bullish engulfing the day before. Still looks like it wants to go higher. XHB, which is the Home Builders ETF, again, just moving sideways right at support, just underneath it. And it looks okay. Not great, not bad. Highly depends on the news coming out. Lumber moving higher. That's looking quite surprising. I didn't look at the housing starts number. I'll do that in a little bit, but that looks good. Rocketing higher there. Nickel rocketing higher. Nickel is also looking quite bullish here for a move higher. So that's looking good. Cocoa futures moving sideways, but again, on the short term, guys, I still think this is going to go higher. Wheat putting in a big fat up candlestick, looking bullish as heck. That looks really good. Soybeans looking bullish, moving higher. It's got that stair-stepping pattern look. I think it will continue higher. And then corn also moving higher. I like the way that this looks for a continued move higher. Copper moving sideways. Which way is this thing going to break? I don't know. We're going to have to find out. But I can tell you this. We broke this downtrend line here. We've got a higher low. Now we need to make a higher high. If we make that higher high, we're in a new uptrend. Everything's, peachy there, right? But that's what we're looking for, and we don't have it yet. But it does look good. It doesn't look horrible. Looking at Moo. Moo had a nice, good setup yesterday with that bullish engulfing. We were down today, but it's a bloody nose, bloody chest type deal. Usually that's a continuation pattern higher. We just gapped down in the morning and went sideways on the momentum. We went down and then came back up. That's what the hammer candlestick is, but that's looking better there. It doesn't look horrible. And then aluminum selling off a little bit. This has been highly volatile, any of these companies, but we're down here and we're right on support. Right on support. And then Baltic Dry Index, we are basically a little bit down today. Looks like some money's rotating into it in the overall sector. But overall, doesn't look too bad. I'm still bullish on the shipping companies. So a lot's going to depend on tomorrow on what information's released. Is it 0.75? Is it 1%? What is it going to be? And what is the guidance going forward? And it depends what the market, thinks is good and what it's bad and how it perceives that information. We're going to see, I think, one way up or down quite large. 0.75 is baked into the cake, I think. So anything that's below 0.75, rocketing higher. Anything above 0.75, like 1.0, I think people are going to sell it. They're going to sell off. So that's my take. That's kind of what I think is going to happen. Again, even if someone handed it to me, the information of what's going to happen tomorrow, I probably, this news, investors can take it either way. Sometimes, companies release really good earnings reports and it gets sold off because of forward guidance or something that was said that they don't like, even though they could have a blowout quarter. So same thing can happen with the FOMC. They could come out with a 1% rate hike and guide that they're going to be softer in the future, and maybe we still go higher. Tough to say. But if you guys need help navigating these markets, definitely subscribe to the channel here. Subscribe to the website if you'd like, which is over here. Become a platinum member. I do have a training session Thursday, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. You can join that. If you can't join it, that's fine too. I videotape it. I'll share it on the website, and you can view it later. I also have question and answer sessions on the weekend. I will do one at 5 p.m. Sunday in the evening. That's going to be September 25th. September 25th, 5 p.m. Sunday, Mountain Standard Time is when I'll do that one to catch some of you guys in the afternoons. So that's what I've got. Hopefully you guys like the content. Give me a thumbs up, and we'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.